On the 13th of September 1942, over the city of Stalingrad, a Junkers 88 from Kampfgeschwader 76 was shot down in flames, after which a dogfight ensued between the escorting and attacking fighters. During this fight, a Messerschmitt 109 flown by Luftwaffe ace Erwin Meyer was engaged in an intense aerial duel. No matter what he did, he could not get a shot on the Russian Yak-1 fighter, which was now turning in on his tail. And in an instant, 20mm cannon shells and 7.92 machine gun rounds smashed through his aircraft and into the sensitive Daimler-Benz 605 engine at the front of his Messerschmitt. The cockpit began filling with smoke, and as such, he bailed out of the aircraft and floated down east of the River Volga into the hands of the 62nd Army of the Stalingrad Front under command of General Chuikov. After being interrogated by the NKVD intelligence officers, he was marched to an army headquarters as a prisoner. Erwin Meyer, victor of 11 aerial combats, made a request to the commanding officer of the Soviet air group that he be able to meet the pilot who shot him down, stating that he felt they were a man worth meeting. His request was granted, surprisingly enough. The man who vanquished the Luftwaffe pilot in single combat was presented before him. His name was Lydia Litvyak. Not a he, but a she. Erwin Meyer stood dumbfounded, enraged at the Soviets for their insolence in pulling such an obnoxious prank. I mean, how could they do this? There's no way this little girl could possibly be the person who defeated him. However, Lydia, a Jewish girl from Moscow, simply smiled and described to the German pilot every maneuver they had each made until the final decision of the fight, where she had shot him down. Despite his sheer incredulity, Erwin accepted that he had been bested and presented Lydia with his gold watch as a symbol of his surrender. But to his surprise and to everyone else's present, she pushed it away with a simple response, "I don't accept gifts from fascists." Lydia Litvyak had just established a landmark in both aviation and feminist history as the first female combat pilot to destroy an enemy aircraft in air-to-air combat. Born in Moscow on the 18th of August 1921, Lydia grew up in the reconstruction years of the Soviet Union after the Civil War. She was an intelligent girl and very studious, but she was passionate about only one thing: flying. She joined the Young Pioneers as soon as she could, and was an active member in the various adventure activities that she partook in until the age of 14, when she finally got her chance. She joined the local flying club as a student and performed her first solo flight not long after her 15th birthday. After this meteoric start, she continued to defy all convention by passing through the Kherson Military Flying School with distinction and becoming a flight instructor at the Kalinin Aero Club, where she trained a total of 46 pilots, all of them men, and all of them joining the Red Army Air Force. On June 22, 1941, the combined forces of the Third Reich attacked the Soviet Union en masse, starting the bloodiest sustained battle in human history and the largest war humanity has ever fought. Lydia immediately reported to her local recruiting station and demanded to join the Air Force to fight the invaders. However, despite the progressive reforms made under Lenin and the Communist Party during and post-revolution, the traditionalism of Russian society still persisted. As such, the restrictions on female applicants were quite excessive, with a huge number of flying hours required to offset the fact of having a vagina. Which is rather stupid now that you think about it. But those were the times, I guess. In response to this, Lydia did the only logical thing. She left Moscow to the next biggest town with a recruiting office and said she had 100 more hours than she actually had. After completing operational training on fighter aircraft, she was sent to the 1st Female Combat Aviation Section, the 586th Air Defense Regiment, commanded by Marina Raskova. It is in this unit she met her friends Raisa Balieva and Katya Budinova. With them was a fully trained female ground crew to maintain and support their aircraft, but they had not had a chance to see true combat. Itching to join the fight, the 3 girls were transferred to a male unit, the 473rd Fighter Squadron, based at Stalingrad, which is when the opening events of the video took place. After those first victories, the female pilots of this unit were transferred to the 73rd Guards Fighter Regiment, and began taking the Nazis to account in the skies over Stalingrad. Lydia herself, according to official Soviet sources, accounted for 12 victories, and was renowned for one particular trait that she set apart from the others. That trait was aggressiveness. While Katya and Raisa were both excellent pilots in their own right, they flew with their heads and worked as a team. Lydia, on the other hand, had a bit of a flamboyant streak, so much so that she was awarded the honour of being a free hunter. Similar to German pilots with this honour, Lydia was allowed to prowl the front line alone for targets outside of regular flight operations. Her signature was a light lily painted on the cowl of her aircraft. She also flew as the wingwoman to 39-kill ace Alexei Solomantin. After landing from one of these sorties, Alexei approached her and confessed his love to her. Lydia had long been the attention of various hotshots and even the mechanics, so to her this was another ace pilot trying to woo the affections of the aviatrix. As such, she rebutted him. However, he persisted, and one day he presented her with flowers to put in her cockpit, which she usually picked for herself. Very soon she was smitten with the young pilot, and the affair fled into life. However, it was short-lived. Solomantin was killed training a new pilot in combat flying over the airfield, when his aircraft crashed into the ground. This training was being conducted while the regiment was on standby, and as such the entire unit witnessed the accident, Lydia herself included. This had a profound effect on her. Her flying became reckless and she fought with abandon. Her victories mounted, but at the cost of her heart. It was said she was never the same after Alexei died, and in a letter home she sent to her mother that she confessed she was despairing and missing him. Something had to give. And it did. On the 1st of August 1943, Lydia was escorting a squadron of IL-2 Sturmovix on an attack mission, when she spotted a formation of Heinkel 111s flying towards the Russian lines. Breaking off from her escort mission, she dived and attacked the bombers. However, unbeknownst to her, the escorting 109s pounced on her as she dived. The last sighting of Lydia was from her wingman, who saw her in a gap between the clouds, her engine trailing smoke while she manoeuvred ferociously. She was engaged in a dogfight with 8 German fighters, trying to turn the tables. But against experienced Luftwaffe pilots, this situation was simply unwinnable. Eventually her aircraft was shot to pieces, while she herself took a bullet to the head, killing her instantly. Lydia crashed into a field near the village of Dimitrevka, and was buried by the local townspeople. As she was listed as missing in action, there was the possibility that she could have been captured as no one saw her death. As such, she was prevented with being awarded the title which she rightly deserved. When in 1990, after many long years of searching, a former comrade of hers discovered her grave and had the body examined. Forensics proved that this was the body of Lydia Vladimirova Litvyak. General Secretary Gorbachev released a statement that due to this, she was posthumously promoted to senior lieutenant and awarded the title Hero of the Soviet Union. She was one of the last people to ever be awarded this title, having earned it 60 years prior. But she was at last vindicated, and to this day, her story lives on. If I am ever lucky enough to have a daughter, I'm not going to be telling her stories of Cinderella or Snow White, although I'm sure she'll see them eventually. I'm going to tell her stories of women like Lydia. A woman of dignity, a woman of strength, a woman with a burning passion and a sense of duty, a socialist, feminist freedom fighter at the cutting edge of modern aviation and military heroism, who gave her all for a better world. A woman who lost almost everything she held dear and kept going, a hero of not just the Soviet Union, but all the women of the world. We remember her as we remember them all. On the next episode, I will be telling a story of one of the first women to earn the Hero of the Soviet Union for a combat role at the Battle of Sevastopol. But that is another story for another time. See you when I see you, comrades.